And here we are. Hello, beautiful souls. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Darla LeDoux, international best-selling author of her new book for the transformation industry called Shift the Field. You've seen me with emails announcing this amazing book. I've read it, I have it, and I highly recommend it. A quick introduction for Darla. And did I pronounce your name right, Darla?
Yeah, I was impressed.
Cool. Maybe should have checked first. Darla is a transformational business coach, a recovering engineer, and the founder of Sourced. And then you also have another best-selling book, Retreat and Grow Rich, right? This is your second.
Yes.
Since 2009, she's guided thousands of clients, including me, to confidently market, sell, and deliver deep transformation, unlock their own magical sourced expressions, and build lucrative businesses based on deep energetic alignment. You can learn more about Darla and her work at www.sourcedexperience.com. Hi, Darla. Thanks for joining us and telling us about your book.
Thank you.
Tell me how you got inspired to write it?
So you mentioned my first book, which is called Retreat and Grow Rich. And I kind of want to go back to, I wrote that book because I was working as a business coach and I was delivering a lot of my work in live retreats. And my clients would come up to me afterwards and say, I just really want a business like yours. Can you show me how to do that? And so Retreat and Grow Rich was born. And then I began working with all people who wanted to host retreats. So it was a kind of a shift between entrepreneurs in general to people who I call transformational leaders. Like they've already been through their own inner work, their own massive breakthrough in their life, usually, which is so inspiring. You just want to tell people, right? And you've probably had that experience where it's like, okay, my life totally changed. Why doesn't everybody know this? I just want to share it with people. And so in working with that audience, I was constantly looking for ways to describe what I was doing, right, in a way that it would click for people. And, I have a background as an engineer. So there's some way in which my brain looks for patterns and systems and helps create structure out of something that seems esoteric, right? So when we think about transformation or having a breakthrough, sometimes it feels random, like, oh, you're just lucky, you happen to have this aha. But in working with clients over time, there really is a structure to it. So I started teaching this to my retreat leaders, and I would see the light bulbs go off. And I would see how all of a sudden what seemed random, like designing a business model for a coaching business or, consulting, et cetera, would seem kind of random, right? Like, okay, I could do, $200 a session, or I could bundle 10 sessions together and call it a package and make up a name, but it's still just 10 coaching sessions, right? And then how do I charge? Do I charge less? Do I charge more? Like those kind of conversations where it was all random and people would Google their competitors and look at their pricing and say, well, that's what they're doing. Am I as good as them? Am I not? And price that way. But really, there's a structure for how people move through transformation. And so designing your business to actually support that makes it so much more clear. So now when people learn the anatomy of a transformation, which is the heart of this book, they're making intuitive choices about their business based on, oh, what do I know about my clients to help facilitate commitment, which is the first stage? What do I know about my clients to help them go through this 3-stage process of really transforming a pattern? What do I know about my clients about how they want support while they integrate their new energy into their life? And so it became easier to kind of think about the choices that you're making as a leader.
And I love that it makes the random less random. So like you can actually set the intention and come into it knowing that at the end of the process, the program, the retreat, there will be a transformation. You may not know what it is, but there will be a transformation. Yeah, that is amazing. It makes it less random and more intentional. Yeah. Conscious and intentional living for sure. So you called it a structure. Is it it's not a process as much as it is a way to move through Well, I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, I feel it's different than a formula, because a formula says do this, then do this, then do this. But it's more like a supportive structure that helps you as the guide to understand where your client is in their process of transformation. And yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love in reading the book that you allow for the individual and unique black box of the individual coaches. So there's
Yeah.
to add your own magic into the mix.
Yeah. When I first started focusing on retreat leaders, I had everybody kind of map out their process individually. And I still do that with my private clients at times. We put the post-it notes up and look at, like, people think they don't have a process, but they do actually have a way that they think about their work with clients. And even if things might happen in a different order, there is a way that you work that's different than how someone else might work. And specifically when it comes to intuition. So everybody who does this work has some form of intuitive guidance. And, I've rebranded my company. It's called Sourced, which is really about spirit working through us, right? Source working through us to do this work. And that happens in a different way for everyone. So someone might have a certification in EFT tapping, right? Emotional freedom technique. And they might have a yoga certification, and they combine those in a unique way that helps their client recognize truth. And so the center of this process, this structure, is truth. It's helping your client to receive the truth. And the truth might come through you, like, I just have a vision, right? I have a vision of you like this. How does that land for you, right? We were saying with the client, it might come through them. And all you're doing as the facilitator is holding space.
Yeah.
We put so much pressure. I know I did, especially early on in my business. Like, I have to prove that coaching works and that it's amazing and that I have the answer. A lot of times all you need to do is hold the space, and your client has their own connection to source and will get their own information, or something will happen in their life that's like a revealer of truth.
Yeah.
And it'll happen in between sessions, and you didn't have to do anything but be there and hold space and help them really get present with it.
Present with it, and recognize that it occurred for them and celebrate it with them, because
Yes.
sometimes we don't want to see it, right?
Yeah. Or, and the third stage is integration, because often we skip over it, right? It's like, okay, I got that interesting thing happened. Or, oh, I think maybe I'm, intuitive. And someone might have that realization, and then they think, okay, next, as opposed to spending some time with that and looking at how is that showing up in your life, and where have you made it wrong, and who in your life supports that, and how do you want to restructure your life to be more of who you are.
Yeah, and I think it's holding a space and a structure or container. I've heard you like to say,
Yeah.
so that even like the small T truth, that can become the foundation or the start point for a huge shift, to put somebody into maybe a more empowering place, or a life-changing difference. I mean, a small realization can be that big.
Yeah. And you said the small T truth. And in this place, in the book, I talk about two truths and a lie. And there's that small T truth, which is kind of what we've been operating on. So, for example, one of mine was, you have to be smart to get love. And that was something that just was true for me, right? So I got good grades, and I went to a good college, and I got a good job, and as an engineer, so nobody could argue if I was smart, right? But really it was based on a lie. Like, I had invented that was something I needed to do. And it came, good heartedly. My parents were divorced. My dad would occasionally come and pick me up. And I remember really clearly, I would always sit with the adults and they would play cards. And so I would play cards and gamble with them. And I won a lot. And my dad would, lean back in his chair and put his arm around me and say, "Isn't she so smart?"
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, if I'm smart, he'll come pick me up. If I'm smart, I get love. And that became like a truth for me, to the point that even when I knew deep down I wanted to be a coach, I thought there was no way I could do that because it didn't fit this persona of being smart. Right. It was like, if I leave this good career, I will lose love.
Mm. So that was the truth, that was not really a truth.
Right.
And then your shift was coming to realize that didn't need to be your truth anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That I could follow what felt intuitively right for me.
So it's super important to have the client be able to realize and step into that place of the big T truth in your structure. You facilitate a way for them to reach that point and then eventually integrate it into a new state of being. That's so powerful. It's so amazing, Darla, to be able to have that kind of structure in place, and to help them to get to that place, and for coaches to have that repetition and that certainty that this isn't random. This could be done again and again and again. So your work is amazing. I think it's very much needed, especially as this industry's growing with coaches who are intending to help facilitate these kind of shifts. Very important work.
Yeah. And, for me, one of my passions is that we're effective as coaches, and I say all coaching is helpful. Just having someone to talk and mirror back and reflect is helpful. So, I firmly believe that. And I was just on a call earlier where someone was speaking to, she was dealing with and processing that she has a lot of anxiety that happens in her life. And she's been in coaching containers where people have said, stop giving the anxiety power, stop talking about the anxiety, like let it go, move. But it was there. Right. And so a lot of times, one of the sections in the book is about, I call it bad affirmations, where it's like, okay, just create the opposite, right? An affirmation or an intention. So I'm not anxious, right? If you weren't anxious, you're whatever. The opposite of anxious is peaceful. I'm peaceful. I am peaceful, right? Every time you do that, your inner world is going, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Right. Because we're trying to solve it by creating the opposite, but really the opposite energy is still within that same pattern of I'm anxious or not. And you can't skip over actually feeling that truth, right? That there's this anxious feeling in my body and it comes from somewhere and it's real and it's speaking to me. And so, there's a lot of coaching that ignores that or tries to fix it or get rid of it, right? And as soon as we're trying to get rid of it, we're stuck right back on what I call the old tired path.
I love that we've got an old tired path that you need to rise above, but recognizing that you're even on an old tired path in the first place is pretty huge. And dusting off this, bad affirmation or recognizing that you're living in anxiety, but not knowing how to shift out of that place. You're right. You just stay stuck in the positive side of the same energy.
And it's hard to see from within the pattern, right? Because it really feels like peaceful is better than anxious, right? But trying to be peaceful is just trying not to be anxious. And it really isn't a different energy field.
So your structure allows for a shift out of the old tired pattern and off of that treadmill. And that helps to elevate the client into a whole new place from which they can then change their life. Recognize their big T truth.
Yeah, we can see possibilities, right? When I was stuck in, I have to be smart. Being a life coach isn't smart, right? I couldn't see any possibilities. And I spent years, Shelley, interviewing people about their career and, looking for a career that was a better match for me, but still would have me look really smart.
Huh.
Right. And it was like, I knew deep down what I wanted to do, but it just didn't fit that paradigm of the world I'd built. And so I couldn't see it.
Yeah. Yes. And until you took off the lenses and were able to put on a different lens that then filtered your experience and
Exactly.
higher part of the field. So I love that you're able to elevate people off of their old tired path, recognizing it in the first place. So what did you tell us how you came across your framework through repetition and experience, right? So
Yeah.
in your online retreats, you saw it over and over and over again, and you were holding a space and using your intuition. Does it relies on having an intuitive connection?
Oh, great question. So here's where I haven't been asked this before. So, well, first of all, I would say when I started, I considered myself intuitive. Like I would, maybe get signs or have a gut feel, but I really wasn't very connected. I didn't even talk about spirit or God. Like I was learning about the universe supporting me, but I still was able to see patterns, which is one of the ways intuition works, right? It's kind of closer into more the logical, traditional path. So I could see the patterns, but really, if you're knowing that, hey, the truth is coming forward now, like we're holding space for it, if you don't get anything intuitively, your client will, right? Something will come up. And so it's for you to look at from this belief. So one of the core beliefs of the approach is that everything is sourced. So if something happens in your client's life, that's not just random, it's sourced. It's a mirror for something. Um, I live by this. I had an argument with my spouse yesterday, right? And it's like, okay, this isn't by accident. There is a mirror here. Like, what is it that I think should be different about her? And in what way is that true about me? And everything is sourced. So when I'm in massive growth with my new book and everything, when we're in that space, whatever needs to be transformed comes up for us to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and that could be a hard place in a transformation cycle, but I think your structure addresses that too, so that it's more can be handled more in ease and grace, which is beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Holding the container so that you do recognize when it comes up, and you're in a better place to be able to address it as a mirror to your experience, as opposed to becoming brought down by it or otherwise victimized.
Yeah. Yeah. Or feeling victimized, right? It's a more empowered approach. Like this is happening for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is the lesson or opportunity in it? Well, I love that your book shot up to the top of the charts super quick. That tells me the industry is calling for this work. So thank you for putting it out in the world. I know that you are offering also a webinar, and also I've signed up for your May online live retreat that goes into it. I believe it goes into it pretty in depth, right?
Yes.
Tell the audience a little bit about what they can expect on both of those.
Yeah. So we have a new live event that goes along with the book. Really, it's putting the book into practice. It's called Shift the Field Live. It's May 20th to 22nd. It's all happening on Zoom, though I do need to say everything that I do is experiential. So it won't be like your typical Zoom meeting. That's my intent anyway. And it's 3 days, and the themes are: day one is all about this shift. So we've been talking about transformation, right? Transformation is creating a permanent shift in how you relate to life and how you show up, which creates different results. And so day one is all about this shift. I call it from default energy to sourced energy. So we explore, how do you identify the two types of energy? How do you know where your client is? What are your own strengths when it comes to being in sourced energy, and where might your blind spots be? And helping you really embody your own sourced energy. Day two, I called structure and flow. And I think of this, the anatomy of a transformation. So this is all about the anatomy, day two. I think of it as a structure to support us. I attract mostly women. We do have a couple men signed up. But to this structure, this more masculine structure to support us in being in more of our intuitive flow when we work, right? You're not having to think about causing something to happen over there, because you're allowing it to unfold. So it creates this whole different dynamic. So we're going to dive into that on day two. And we're also going to use the anatomy on your business as if it were a client. So we're literally going to walk through the process with your business as a client. So super excited about that. And then on the third day, we're exploring, what does your leadership look like? Now that you know this, what does it look like to lead in a new way?
Wow, that's amazing. And a lot crammed into a short 3-day live event. Very awesome. So I thank you in advance. Darla has offered us, this community, a discount to get into, I believe, to get into the event.
Yes.
Percent off. Is that what it is?
Yes. So with the code Thursday, all caps Thursday, you can access the event. It's regular $311, but you can access it at 50% off until May 1st, end of day, May 1st.
Oops, secret. I'll send out the link and the passcode Thursday in all caps. And that is good through May 1st to get into the May 20 through 22nd online event, 3-day online event for 50% off.
Yes. And I'll also give you the link to the webinar, which is a preview for the event. So if folks want to come to the webinar, it's on Thursday.
Fantastic. I love that. Synchronicity. Divine timing. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a preview of what you've got cooking. I'm
very Shelley
for the industry, and strongly encourage the community and my audience to take part, the coaches, but also it's a personal transformation experience too. So it's not just for coaches who want to use it in the business necessarily. It sounds like you can actually walk through this in a personal way as well.
Yeah. And people who are leaders in a corporate job if you go through it with that, your team is your clients, you'll get the same kind of outcome. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Multi-purpose. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you. And I will get that out to my audience so that they can take advantage of the 50% off coupon. And thank you for joining me today, Darla.
Thank you.
And with that, to our community, look for the Shift for the Field online event live. I'll put this on the email, and we'll see you again soon. But until then, shine your light into the world powerfully and in your highest expression. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.